Nice.
We're live.
We're here, man.
We're
We finally
fucking
did it.
we're doing it live right now. We're live on
We've
Facebook. We're live on
yeah,
YouTube. We're
yeah.
live. Those are the only two places that we're live. But the only two places that matter. This is the weekend wrap up show. We still haven't decided a name. Maybe we'll just take the name Weekly
Yeah.
Sauce. But we haven't really decided a name yet, so we'll take it from there. But it's most likely going to end up being me and you, your brother coming in once in a while. So that's Duke. If you don't know, I don't know why he wrote Trevelyan on his name, but he's Duke. He's the
Oh,
graphic
that
designer.
shows. I'm gonna switch that. I'm gonna switch that. it's my
Uh,
it's my username for everything.
oh, really? Yeah. What
Yeah. Do
does
you
it
know where
mean?
it's from?
No,
If you've ever watched the movie GoldenEye,
I have.
the James Bond movie, you know the blonde guy Sean Bean that plays the bad guy in that movie.
Yeah.
That's his name. Yeah, that's his name.
Okay.
So it's my gamer tag, PlayStation, Xbox, everything.
So somebody just called us loser, and it's a random Facebook.
It's amazing. I love it.
We'll keep
Keep
it
it
on
going,
there. But,
man. Keep it
but
going.
anyway, this episode, as usual, like all our episodes on Hot Sauce Sports, is brought to you by our most
Yeah,
loyal sponsor. It is
fantastic.
Hot Streak Fantasy. Visit Hot Streak Fantasy, use the promo code Hot Sauce, and they will match your initial deposit as a bonus. You give 50, they'll give you 50. You give 1,000, they'll give you 1,000, but don't go over 1,000. That's the maximum. If you deposit $1,000, they will give you $1,000 in bonus money in your account. Hot Streak Fantasy. Use the promo code Hot Sauce, and they'll match it. They'll match it. So Duke, crazy weekend, man.
Yeah, man.
Two of the tightest
Listen,
games we've seen in the championship in a long time.
before we get there, so
Yeah.
you know
Don't
how I'm
mind
the world's
don't mind
worst.
the pink teacup here.
Sounds good. So you know how I'm the world's worst gambler, not the world's worst gambler. I know nothing
Nah,
about
it's fine.
gambling.
I'm
I
definitely the one
legit
who's
don't. I've never tried. I have nothing. I don't know anything about it. In previous shows, you guys have tried really hard to try and get me to understand gambling. I never fucking get it. So I decided to finally download one of these gambling apps. And on my phone, I gave it. I'm like, fuck it. You know what? I'll just give it a try. Let's see what happens.
yeah.
So, and the whole thing confuses me. Like the language, the vocabulary, all of that just doesn't get. Like I just don't get it. So I download DraftKings on my phone.
Yeah.
And I thought that DraftKings is the kind of app that you could just pick a winner and loser because that's all I wanted to do.
No, it's
I didn't realize.
it's daily fantasy, but you can bet on
I know.
anything.
So I downloaded the wrong app. So I already fucked
Yeah.
up. So I downloaded the wrong app. So I get on the app, and so I'm like, okay, fuck yeah, I'll start putting together a team. And I put together the sickest team. Looking back, had I entered my picks, I probably would have won a lot of money. Like I had
You should have done it.
Perrine. I
The
should
thing
have, but
is
yeah,
the thing is that people always think that, oh man, I would have won. But like I had a lot of the guys that scored points. I had Kelsey, I had T. Higgins, like I had a lot of the guys,
yeah,
and I was never in the money. I played on FanDuel though, but I was never in the
yeah,
money. So you always think that you're getting a lot of points, but at the end of the day, you
yeah.
need to get the guy like Bobby Perrine scored a touchdown. Like he would have been a guy if you got him,
That's
he
it.
would have made you win, right? So the thing
I
is that
had
it's
him. Well, I don't hear you, dude. I don't hear you. I don't hear you.
Why did it get muted?
I don't know. I didn't mute on my side.
But you can hear me now.
That's okay. Yeah. Don't worry about it. We'll get through the funks. Like whatever. Eventually, we'll figure it all out. Don't worry. I mean, this is the first time we do it together. But
no, it's not that. It's everything's on. It's not working for some reason. My microphone's not working.
But don't worry about your mic. I could hear you now. Don't worry about it. Let's just roll.
All right, but I can't hear you.
So, but you can hear me because you're answering me.
No, I can hear you.
And now you're muted again.
Fuck. There you go. All right, we're back. I'm not
okay. Cool.
Ever again.
So repeat what you said, so that way, like, we can actually hear it.
Oh, what were we talking about?
Well, before you muted, you were talking about Perrine.
I was talking about what?
Perrine, that dude Perrine.
Oh yeah, exactly. If you had a guy like that, you would win automatically.
And I did. So that's so going back to what I was saying. So I drafted a great team. It just took me fucking forever to do it. And I also waited until last minute to do it because I'm the most undecisive person in the world. So like it took me an hour to come up with a team. I finally got my team going. I put it in. It's like too late. So I didn't have a chance to actually enter it. I found out later that there's different contests and stuff that I could have entered. I think I could have even entered a team like later on in the game too. I just gave up. I got so discouraged because I'm like I put like an hour into creating my fantasy lineup.
Yeah.
And then I press enter and it's like too late. And I'm like, fuck. It took me way too long to figure it out. And it would have been a great team. I think I would have won a lot of money. So
I made
maybe
my
next
lineup
weekend I'll try
at
again.
2:55 when I was taking a shit right before I left my house to go to my buddy's house to watch the game. I
You
swear.
see, this is why I need to be more like you. You can
No, I
just make
lost.
your decisions while taking a shit and you just get it. You know?
Oh no, but the
You
thing is
lost?
that the shit is where I make my final decision, but like I
Right.
prepare all day. Like I'm looking at the lines, I'm looking at what's going on, and I prepare all day. So like
Yeah.
when I see let's say somebody say that they feel like Joe Burrow is going to go off today, that triggers in my mind. I'm gonna bet on it. You know, I'm gonna take him.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
So
But
what did
yeah,
you think
that
about the games finally?
so which one you want to start with? You want to start with the first one?
We'll go
The
NFC.
Chiefs Bengals?
We'll go to the nighter.
So it was a great game. I mean, honestly, like I think this weekend was fantastic. I think this was one of the best. Like, I mean, obviously, like ever since the wild card weekend, because the wild card weekend was whatever. There was a couple of cool games. Obviously, my Raiders had probably the best game of the wild card weekend. They lost to the Bengals, and I've been rooting for the Bengals ever since.
Yeah.
That weekend was whatever. Last weekend was incredible. Maybe one of the best. Like the Bills Chiefs game was incredible. And then we go into this week in the conference finals, and I have to say, man, like we're blessed with this amazing football. I find
Yeah.
the season was really long. I feel like the extra game that they added in, the 18 game season, really, it's not jiving with me. I find it was just way too long for nothing.
It was.
That being said, I mean, it brought us some great football in the playoffs. Now, as for the game itself, look, I don't think either one of these teams has a chance against the Bengals, which is crazy because I never thought I would be rooting for the Bengals. But after the run that we've seen with the Bengals, they just seem like the team of destiny. Now,
Yeah.
looking at the Rams, like I don't trust Stafford. I think he is a really good quarterback. I think that he's solid. I just think that this game would have ended very differently if Jaworski Tart would have caught that interception.
Crazy. That's like
Had he caught that
it's
interception,
like
we'd be having a different
it's the turning
conversation.
point of that game. It's crazy how he dropped
Yeah.
it.
And he was saying, like, and I feel so bad. I feel so bad for him because he was saying, he's like, and he puts all the blame on him, and he shouldn't. He shouldn't put the blame on him. He's not the reason why they lost, even if he had a very costly penalty as well. He didn't have his best game. There was a lot of energy and emotion that went into it, but like, he was saying post game that all week he had been practicing these hand drills, and was catching everything. And this pass, which my God, I mean, probably 99 out of 100 times or 100 times out of 100 times he would have caught it.
Yeah.
And he just dropped like a layup of a pass. And that's the kind of pass you see from Stafford once in a while. We always like to trash on Jimmy Garoppolo for the bonehead mistakes he makes throughout a game. And believe me, Jimmy Garoppolo is much more responsible for the downfall of this team in the playoffs. Yesterday. Then I would put a lot of blame on Garoppolo over Jaworski Tart. But man, like Stafford is going to throw up a couple of balls like that next week.
Okay.
And the Bengals, man, I mean, anyway, we'll get to the Bengals in a sec. But what do you think when you're looking at a quarterback like Stafford? Do you think that
I'm happy
he
for the
is
guy.
a reliable? Yeah.
Yeah, I think everybody knows what kind of guy Matt Stafford is. I fell in love with Matt Stafford that day. I mean, was it against the Cowboys when it was against the Cowboys when he spiked it in the goal line and he jumped in for the touchdown. And he was there was another one where he dislocated his shoulder. I don't know if that was against the Cowboys or not.
Yeah, I don't know if that was the Cowboys, but I remember the player talking about he dislocated his shoulder and threw a touchdown, like a 40, 50-yard touchdown. He's had a lot of bad luck, like with the Lions and stuff, and it's great to see him there. I have nothing against Stafford. I think he's an incredible guy and everything. But I just think I look at what Joe Burrow has done, and we'll get to that in a second. And what I saw from Stafford yesterday. Look, he's got everything. He's got everything he never had before. I mean, having Odell Beckham as a second option is incredible.
Oh, for sure.
Could you imagine that kind of that kind of offense where you have like Higbee will probably be back next week, so that's already a huge target. Cam Akers looks like he's back to normal. Cam Akers is looking a lot better than last week as well.
Yeah.
obviously Cooper Kupp is just unstoppable. I mean, the guy manages to get every single reception possible and gets plus yards, even when a defense knows it's the one guy you need to stop. So there's just something incredible about that offense. And you know what? Honestly, like my pick for that game is going to be probably the Bengals in the next one, but it's going to be really, really, it's going to be a tough game both ways. But I just don't trust Stafford, and I think that game, I think it was more to Jimmy Garoppolo. It's all about Jimmy Garoppolo than it is about Stafford. I think that Jimmy Garoppolo completely should have bet on that.
Yeah, I agree. That's the thing too. It's like Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, he didn't play great, but Jimmy Garoppolo gave you exactly what you want him to give you. But he had some flashes, like that pick at the end. A third down. Like, what are you going to do with 3rd and 13? Like, he sees his guy open. He just tries to flick it to him, try to make a play. Like you're fighting to go to the Super Bowl. Like, you have nothing to lose at this point. You're in your
and
own
Aaron Donald was ripping up that offensive line. I mean, he had
for sure.
no time. So
but
it's so easy for us to trash him, but he had no time.
That's the thing about Jimmy G. Like, listen, he hasn't given the Niners fans a lot to kind of root for, but he's been decent at times. You know what I mean? I'm not going to go and rip on him like Mina Kimes did, because I don't want Jeff Garcia to come after me. But that's a story for another day.
That?
I mean, Jeff Garcia is an idiot. Like, I think that's just And for him to defend himself too, that's the problem. It's like, okay, you fucked up, you made a mistake, you said something that clearly is very sexist and very misogynist and all that shit, very macho, and then you go on radio and you're like, let me try and defend myself. And then being a baby about it, when they ask you, they just respond and ask you questions. And Jeff Garcia is out here like complaining that Mina Kimes is breaking down football because she's never played the game. Listen, I'm not a huge Mina Kimes guy. I've told your brother this. I know he is, but I think that she's super intelligent. She understands the game at a lot better than a lot of people. And you know what I mean? And all she talks about is the facts. The only thing I agree with Jeff Garcia is that she was like way too harsh on Jimmy G. And I'm not trying to protect Jimmy G. I'm not a Niners fan by any stretch of the imagination, but like she was trying to protect Jimmy G. She was trying to like rip him. She's saying how he was awful. He's the worst quarterback in the playoffs and all that stuff. So Jeff Garcia defended because he used to commentate for the Niners. I don't know if he still does.
Of course, yeah, he's got a lot of ties to the 49ers, and at the same time, but
idiot.
I think it also came from a place of self-defense as well, because in a way, for what we're trashing Jimmy G for, those are all the same faults that Jeff Garcia had. Jeff Garcia used to his whole game plan was 5-6 yard passes all the way to the end zone, and like that's just not the NFL nowadays. Like, but that being said, look, going back to Jimmy G, I don't think he's a terrible quarterback. I mean, he's obviously done very well in the playoffs.
I'm gonna keep this on screen so people know.
Yeah. I love this guy calling us a loser. It's incredible. Keep going.
But I don't know. I don't know how they can comment on this if
it's
they're not.
Amazing,
like,
and we are losers, so it's all good.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't we?
But I mean,
Alex,
I guess.
Did you see what Alex wrote? I told you that. So Alex wrote. He's like, "When's the goat Alex getting on? Who's the goat Alex?"
Yeah, I don't know what a goat Alex is.
I never heard of that kind of goat.
But yeah, so going back to Jimmy G, just to kind of finish it off. Yeah. I don't think that he's the worst quarterback. I think that he is probably going to be on the move in the offseason. Obviously, the news of Tom Brady potentially retiring is still a big story, but I don't think Brady's going to retire yet. Like there is potentially a job opening at quarterback in San Francisco, and if Aaron Rodgers doesn't end up there, I don't see why Brady wouldn't just take one last year. I mean, look at this roster.
You think that Brady would go to San Francisco?
Well, look, I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I do think that the chance of him retiring is really high, but at the same time, like you got to look at the roster. It's perfectly set up for a competent quarterback. Not to say that Jimmy G is not competent, but it's set up for a quarterback that's much more reliable to step in and actually do very well. Yeah. Like, I mean, they have one of the best defenses. They're going to go into next season with still the top defense. Deebo Samuel looks incredible, and he's only gotten better with time. George Kittle is still an incredible weapon. He was obviously kind of injured, and so is Trent Williams. So you have
made a couple big plays, but yeah, they weren't fully healthy. That's for sure. But
that's the thing, and so they have every piece set up now. Would Tom Brady want to come back? I don't know, but his family lives in San Francisco. If he wants to go out in one last blaze of glory, why not? He threw for 5,400 yards this season. He was a top quarterback.
Maybe he wants to leave on top. Maybe he's like, let me get one last MVP, and Maybe he'll leave on
Yeah.
top. I mean, I don't know if he will get the MVP, but Cooper Cup. I
Well,
mean,
what he
Debo,
said specifically, like what Brady said specifically was, like he's reassessing, and from what I don't remember the exact quote, but he was basically saying that he's looking for the right opportunity to come back. If he does, he's leaving kind of the door open.
Okay.
So this San Francisco would be would be the perfect opportunity. I just think that this team with a much more confident quarterback wins the Super Bowl this year, and
Yeah, I agree.
unfortunately, they just didn't have it, and they kind of lost out.
Let's talk about Kyle Shanahan for a bit. I mean, Kyle Shanahan, I mean, yeah, he had that fourth quarter comeback. I mean, almost fourth quarter blowout against the Cowboys. He blew a
Yes.
fourth quarter lead here. He blew a fourth quarter lead with the Falcons on the famous 28-3 against the Patriots in the Super Bowl. There was another one too where he blew a fourth quarter lead. So what is it like? I don't know what it is with that team. The team is so stacked. Anybody with Debo on their team, like, it's crazy how good that guy is. And Kyle Shanahan is a good coach. He's a good coach.
Do you know what Kyle Shanahan's record over his career is as a coach? Do you know what his? I'm just asking you for a guess. What do you think his record?
He's been a Niners coach for 2 years. He was never a head coach before this.
Yeah, but what do you think his overall record at the moment? Is it over 50% or
as
under
a coach?
50%? Yes.
Oh, it's way over 50.
No, it's the 39-42.
How can he be below 500? He's had two winning seasons.
His record is 39-42. That's what I see here. I could be wrong. Well, we'll go back. But anyway, my point with Shanahan is I do think that he is a pretty good coach. He's definitely done a pretty good job. I mean, they've made the playoffs, over and over, and they actually had a really great run. That being said, there's a lot of things that he does that I don't really agree with. Whenever I watch him,
is Trey Lance the answer?
Trey Lance. So that's why I'm coming back to the potential.
I know nothing about
Rodgers. Of course, yeah. I did watch pretty much all of the 49ers preseason games because I'm fascinated with the point. I always have been.
Yeah.
I mean, as a Raiders fan, I don't have a lot of love for them, but at the same time, it's a team that's always fascinated me. Trey Lance is not ready yet.
Almost knocked over my team. Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm kind of interested with the Niners.
And you know what? Like he has a lot of potential. He's young. He's got a very different tool set than Jimmy G. That being said, he's not ready. He's not really ready yet. I wouldn't see him starting next year. That's why, in a sense, it would make a lot of sense for them to make a play for a veteran quarterback who's reliable, like Rodgers or potentially Brady, and give Lance a year to kind of and one more year to kind of build up some confidence and kind of learn from the best. I don't see what would be the rush in starting Trey Lance. Like the problem with Trey Lance and what we saw in the regular season when he did play is there's a lack of accuracy there, but it's difficult because one of the biggest challenges with a lot of these rookie quarterbacks when coming to the league is not understanding the windows that are there, because the windows in college are a lot bigger than they are in the NFL. In the NFL, you have to make that throw within a split second. And you have people like Aaron Donald that are just chasing you down. So anyway, I also think Jimmy G is going to get traded. I think he's under contract. I don't know if he's under contract.
I mean, listen, I was saying it yesterday. I think he's from Pittsburgh. He'll probably go to Pittsburgh. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers doesn't go to Pittsburgh, I see Jimmy G going to Pittsburgh. I really do, because Jimmy G doesn't need to be the guy that's going to throw the ball out. And in Pittsburgh, they have Najee Harris, so they're not going to be, you know what I mean? Like they have Juju Smith. Like Juju Smith, obviously he's gonna have to throw, but like he's gonna have a weaker receiving core now, but a better running game, and maybe that can help Jimmy G. And in that division. I mean, we're talking about the Bengals now going to the Super Bowl. Crazy. I don't know who had that bit, but good for them. It's just I see Jimmy G in Pittsburgh for some reason. I think he's from Pittsburgh. Can you check that?
I'll check it out. But I will say though that I wouldn't discount the fact that the Pittsburgh Steelers will make a play in the draft to draft Kenny Pickett. I think that would be the right move for them to replace Roethlisberger. Right. I mean, it's very possible. We don't know, but I do see. I can see Pickett kind of ending up in Pittsburgh after playing fantastic at Pitt. So could be potentially an interesting thing. So we're gonna move on to the next game between the Chiefs and the Bengals, because we talked enough about that game.
That was a good game, though. That was a really. It
was great.
Game.
It was great, and all that what we said, we're not discounting the fact that the 49ers are an incredible team. I think Jimmy G is still an incredible quarterback. I really don't want to make it seem like I have any hard feelings towards him. I don't like him. I think he's great. I just think that a team that's that close to making the Super Bowl the difference it tends to be, having a quarterback that's reliable. So we'll see how.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at the Bengals,
Yeah,
I see them as a team that has like every piece other than O-line, and an O-line is
right.
always the one that gets you to the Super Bowl. Somehow they've gotten there without an O-line, and they were able to beat the Chiefs.
It's crazy.
I'm looking at this and I don't see, and I'll give my full preview on Thursday on Not Sauce for Work with your brother,
Yes, for sure.
but I don't see how the Bengals are going to be able to survive Aaron Donald and Von Miller. I just don't see it happening. And speaking of which,
Absolutely.
confirmation, the number I had that I thought was Von Miller's is not Von Miller's. So because during the game yesterday, this guy was texting me back. It's great. I got to read this conversation to you. It's one of the funniest conversations of all time. So
do you want me to? Yeah. Okay.
So I've been like spamming this guy, like, hey Vaughn, you want to come on the show? All this stuff. Like I sent him like a George Kittle meme. I'm like, oh, is this you, bro? And then like there's a video of on Instagram where he was stretching. So I'm like, yo, 6 stretches, man. And then I'm like, looking good, man. Rejuvenated your career. I go, good luck next week, Vaughn. Niners are tough. Crazy game so far. Question mark. He writes some question mark. I'm like, how do you have your phone on the bench? Nice tackle. He's like, wrong number. I'm like, you sure you don't play for the Rams? He's like, it's not Vaughn's number. I'm like, how do I know? Prove it. And then he left me on red. He ignored me.
That's amazing. You know what? Whether it's Vaughn or not, we should get him on. And
Imagine.
I mean, he might be a construction worker. I don't give a fuck. I still want to listen to this.
Yeah, we just want to talk to this guy. Like, how did you get?
I just want to ask what it feels like to get spammed by Terry for weeks on end.
Yeah, it's just like crazy. Once a week. I would always text him during the game to see if he would answer. But anyway, so I think that's amazing. I think that I think him and Aaron Donald are gonna have like a nice little field day against that O-line. But the Bengals have shown that he just gets rid of the ball. If he throws it deep, Jamar Chase is gonna catch it. T. Higgins is such a good receiver. He's one of the most all-around best. Yeah. But he's fast, he's tall, he catches everything, runs really good routes, and he's one of the best all-around receivers I've seen in a while. Like not in a while, but like in the last couple of years.
He would be a number 1 on any team, right?
Any team. He just so happens to be behind Jamar Chase because Jamar Chase is Jamar Chase, like it is what it is.
And so like listen, like going back to the NFL draft last season, this season at the beginning of the year, when they drafted Jamar Chase at the time, I was telling myself, I'm like, are you crazy? You're not going to draft Penny. I think his name is Penny Sewell. It's the
Penny Sewell, the offensive lineman.
Yeah, the lineman. I think the Lions drafted him. I can't remember.
Yeah,
right. And he was incredible. And I was saying like, this is the guy that the Bengals should be after because they need offensive line help. But that being said, I mean, listen, within 3 picks, they completely altered the destiny of that team. I mean, between Burrow, Mixon, and Jamar Chase, they completely changed the fortune of that franchise.
Yeah, whenever people talk about that team, a lot of people forget about Joe Mixon, like I just did. But a lot of people forget about Joe Mixon and how good he is. Like
he's really good.
The Bengals roster is good. Their defense is stacked. They're just the offensive line. If they go draft, this year, they just got to go heavy on offensive line. I think that's all it is.
You want to know? Joe Mixon reminds me of Le'Veon Bell in his prime, like the kind of running back that just fine. Like he's patient in the pocket, and he kind of picks and chooses his hole, and he knows exactly when to cut into specific angles. Like there's times, and this is actually one of the reasons why the Bengals were able to win yesterday. When there was so much pressure around Burrow, when we kind of felt like a play was dead, Mixon was kind of around. Mixon's great at blocking. Yeah. Mixon is a great asset to have if you want to throw the ball to him and like as a security blanket. Like there's no one open, just toss the ball to him on the side. He'll make a play. Mixon is one of these generational talents, like that. He's elusive, he's fast, but he's also smart and patient with the holes that he chooses on the field. So he's really good. Now, in terms of what you're saying, you're totally right. That offensive line looks like Swiss cheese at time, but there's something about how they there's something about how the offensive game plan. It's almost like they're aware that the weakness is the offensive line, so they structure the plays around that. Now, that's on the offensive side. What I felt was the most impressive part of yesterday's game against the Chiefs was the defensive set. They would commonly put 8 guys in the backfield. Yeah. They would just say, you know what, you can run on us, you can get this, you can get the 5-6 yards, but you're not going to throw a deep pass to Tyreek Hill on us. At the beginning of the game, that was the case.
First of all, he threw it to Tyreek Hill in double coverage, and he's the shortest guy on the field. Like it's just like I
Yeah,
understand it's Tyreek Hill, but Tyreek
it
Hill, you want
is.
to give him the ball in space. Like you give him the ball on a 1 yard screen, and he'll take it to the house. So, but like in a jump ball
Yeah.
situation, he's not jumping over in between a safety and a cornerback. He's not getting that jump ball. Somebody, I don't know.
Right. Yeah, go for it. You're muted again, bro. You're muted again. So
Can you hear
just
me now?
filling for with yeah, I can hear you now. You want to go for it?
There you go. So yeah, so the comment is Bengals drafting Chase, Burt, and Shelvin from LSU was really cool, and it's
Right.
true.
That is
Yeah,
an
it's true
excellent
because
pick.
that's
Yes.
true. Like chemistry is a huge thing. You know what I mean? When the Jaguars drafted Trevor Lawrence and drafted Travis Etienne, like that was a good move, like to help Trevor Lawrence. It was too bad that Travis Etienne got injured, but it was a
Of
good
course.
move.
The fortune would have their season would have completely changed if they had him there. But it's that's excellent. I mean, it's a team that really knew how to draft. And when you think about the Bengals, where they're at, salary cap wise, the draft picks coming up, technically they're still in the rebuild mode. For a team that's in the Super Bowl, they still have a ton of cap space. They're a super young team. They're a team that nobody expected to even make the Super Bowl. So it's exciting to see what they're going to do. It's exciting. I'm excited to see what they will do with the additional cap space that they have in the draft picks. So it's going to be really interesting to see. Now, going back to the defense, what I was saying is that there were times when you were watching Mahomes, he looked confused. There were so many people. There were so many defensive players in coverage, and they were doing this mix and match of coverages where they would stack the line and then they would send guys all the way to the back. And by doing that, it really confused. And I rarely saw Mahomes confused later in the season. At the beginning of the season, you saw Mahomes, a bit of that confusion happen, but he looked completely out of his element yesterday. There were times, obviously, Kelsey's wide open. There's just sometimes you're just not going to be able to cover all of these great players.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, it's impossible to cover that amount of talent. It's impossible.
Absolutely, yeah, and they managed to do it. And I think, and honestly, like I look at the Bengals, and we like to say that Mahomes is going to have to deal with Josh Allen for the next decade. Well, let's hold off for a sec. He's going to be great. Josh Allen will, but I think looking at Joe Burrow, 2 years in the league, making a Super Bowl after a horrific leg injury, Mixon, who got injured also last year. This team is finally healthy. They look incredible, and I wouldn't count them out. I wouldn't count them out for the Super Bowl. I think that they would be. I'm going to trust. If I had to put my money on it, and I'm terrible at gambling, I don't know anything about it, but if I had to put my money right now on a team, I will always trust the better quarterback, and I believe that Joe Burrow is that guy.
Yeah, I'm opening up my book now to see what the line is at.
It's probably like minus. I'm trying to understand. I've been researching this.
Okay,
Minus
what
4,
would you
right?
I want to know what your score would be. What would your
I
line
say
be?
it's probably like, I think at the beginning of the week it's going to start lower, but I honestly think there's a lot of buzz towards the Rams. Like they're at home, the Bengals look like they just won the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. So
Okay.
it just feels like one of those games where we're hyping up the Bengals a lot, but at the same time, like the Rams are so good. Like who knows? Like they can end up blowing the ceiling wide open. So
Yeah,
it could
exactly.
go either way. But
So
I'm still gonna trust Joe Burrow on
so
Trace.
the line is plus 170 for the Bengals, which means it's a 2 point. Like if you bet $100, you have to bet $100 to win 170.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's so you get your money back, and so it's 2.7, like 2.7. That's the line.
Right. Okay.
It's not bad. Minus 200 for the Chiefs. Like I'm gonna wait a bit for this to balance out, but I don't see how people are gonna be betting on the Chiefs at minus 200. So the public's probably gonna go to the Bengals because the value's there, and then eventually it'll balance out right before the game. So we're looking at like maybe like a pick 'em closer to the game. Yeah,
Cool.
I think that's what
Very
we're
cool. That's great. I mean, I'm excited. Honestly, I just didn't want to see the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I'm tired of them. I'm tired
Yeah.
of
Well,
everything
also as a
about
Raiders
them.
fan, you're tired of them. But at least
Yeah.
before we close off, your Raiders, they got Josh McDaniels.
Yes, I think it's an excellent hire. I've been scouring Raider social media, whether it's Twitter, whether it's the blogs, and it seems pretty split. There's a lot of Raiders fans that are unhappy about the hiring of McDaniel. I think a
Yeah.
lot of them don't like. Listen, you'll never make a Raiders fan happy. We've dealt with too much heartache over the past like 2 decades, at least 20 years of garbage. So
It's impossible.
there's no coach that's going to make anyone happy. Like this is the same franchise that hired Lane Kiffin. Obviously, was Al Davis, not Mark. They hired Lane Kiffin, and then didn't give him any control when it came to drafting, making the pick in the draft. Lane Kiffin wanted Calvin Johnson, and Al Davis said, "No, we're going to go with Jamarcus Russell." So we're talking about this kind of, exactly. And also the following year, they passed on Aaron Rodgers. So
imagine bringing in a coach and telling him, "Okay, we're going to just pick all the players for you. You have no say."
And from there, it never worked out, and it just. So I think what happens is when McDaniel was hired, there's part of the fan base that looks at it like it's a reoccurrence of Lane Kiffin, and it's not. They're both young, but that doesn't mean anything. I think that Josh McDaniel, when he first got hired at 32 years old to lead the Broncos, wasn't in the same position he is today. It's taken him a lot of time, a lot of maturing. What I've heard is that he's done really great in a lot of the interviews that he did. The guy has clearly learned a lot. Just that terrible experience. I think in life, we learn our best lessons when we make terrible mistakes. And I think that his time with the Broncos was a very unfortunate time. He didn't have the right staff. He didn't have the right players. He was out of his element. It was also listen. The AFC West is always going to be the toughest division in football, I believe. In my mind, obviously a lot of people have different opinions. I just think it's a very tough division. And honestly, going into this season, hiring Josh McDaniel, first of all, I'm happy for the fact that they hired. First of all, they went with the GM. I think that's a move that Al Davis would have never done, and Mark Davis did something smart. He learned his lesson from hiring John Gruden.
Of course, Jerry Jones needs to learn that lesson too. You can't be an owner and be the GM at the same time. It's just, unless if you're that old. If you're a young guy, then fine. But if you're that old, you're completely disconnected from the world.
Yeah, and so listen, they hired a GM. They go with a GM that, listen, there's a lot of mixed opinion about him. The fact is, he did a great job in the previous drafts. Yes, he's taken some shit for signing Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne to these huge contracts, but at the same time, like the Patriots did pretty damn well with a rookie quarterback, and they went for the right quarterback in that draft. I think he made great decisions, which is something the Raiders have not done in the draft standpoint. Even
decision making has been Raiders' crutch, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, decision-making draft.
What was the name of the what was the name of the offensive lineman they drafted? Robert Gallery.
Right. I forget
first
his name,
overall, Robert Gallery. Like he wasn't even ranked in the top 3. Drafted first overall.
Offensive line draft. Whenever you draft an offensive lineman, it's tough because you never know.
It was the same year they drafted Jankowski and Leckler.
Yeah, exactly.
Which turned out to be good. Like McPherson was drafted. He's a kicker for the Bengals. He's been pretty good. He's 22 years old. Yeah. So he was drafted. So I mean, Sebastian Jankowski and Shane Leckler were on the Raiders for like a really long time. Like they were there.
Close to a decade.
Yeah, exactly. And they were successful. Like they were Like Jankowski was like the biggest leg back then too. Like he was good. Yeah. The Raiders had like some good picks, but they've also had mostly were just shit.
Of course, and as Al Davis kind of lost his mind, and as he started getting crazier and crazier, you start to see a lot of that in the decisions he was making. Yeah, but going back to this, I like the fact that they finally went with a much more logical route. They took their time. They didn't just run into anything, because listen, there's still a possibility of them signing Flores as a defensive coordinator. I don't see why not.
I don't think Flores should accept any job other than a head coaching job. I think that he was screwed over in Miami, I agree, and he can't go back.
I agree with you. I agree with you. But that being said, if he was to just work, let's say he says this season, he's like, listen, I'm not going to get a head coaching job. Let me just make a stop somewhere where I'm comfortable. This would be the great situation. I mean, this is the GM that he's worked with. The head coach and the GM are together. They're in sync with the decisions, which already by itself is a great thing. Now, what does this mean for Derek Carr? What does this mean for the Raiders?
Well, no, we don't know.
I feel bad for Rich Bish. I feel bad. I from the beginning, and you know this, I've been saying that he deserved to be the head coach. I think that
I think he earned like a really good look. I really do think. But
he's interviewing.
You knew he wasn't going to be
the Jaguars job. Yeah, he's interviewing for that. He's interviewing for the Jaguars coach.
Yeah.
So he's going to get something. But I do think this is bad news for Derek Carr. I think that Derek Carr was really tied to Rich Bisaccia. I think that Derek Carr had an incredible season, regardless of how it ended.
I think Derek Carr played phenomenal this year. I think he was one of the better ones. But he had some bad games, but like after John Gruden left, like you really saw him come into his own, and he played well, especially in that last game against the Chargers. Like how well he played, and I'm in on Derek Carr. I think that he's good, man. We need to give him an opportunity. That's the only thing.
That being said, he does garner a lot of trade value for a
He
team that
does.
could potentially that's saying, "Listen, we need a quarterback right now." Like,
Yeah, that's
you know,
true.
I mean, another potential destination. We talked about it before, but the 49ers. The 49ers could use a much more accurate quarterback, and he would be the right side, the right step. So,
Yeah.
overall, I'm happy with the move. I'm still a little bit uneasy, because anytime the Raiders sign, they hire a new coach. There's always a part of you that asks, like, is this another terrible mistake that they've made? But I think it's great. I'm looking forward to it. I'm kind of glad they didn't go with Harbaugh. I think that Harbaugh is going to be a very expensive coach. That if he makes any mistakes, everyone's going to be on his ass. So
yeah, that's true.
I'm curious. But that being said, it's a good move in the right direction.
Well, good luck to the Raiders. I'll give you my full breakdown. The Bengals and Chiefs on Thursday. On Not Sauce for Work. But right now, since you're not going to be on there, who's your pick, Bengals or Chiefs? Before we sign off,
I'm gonna go Bengals. Like I said, I'm definitely gonna. If I have to make a decision right now, I understand that the Rams are stacked. I know that defense is fierce.
Yeah.
Odell Beckham Jr. is and also Cooper Kupp are impossible to cover. But and when it comes to the Super Bowl, and we've seen this time and time again, I'm always going to go with the better quarterback, and a lot of people believe that Stafford's a better quarterback. That they have a lot of
more
reason to say
experience
that.
for sure. But if you look at Joe Burrow's history, I mean, he's
there's
just a winner.
There's something special about this team right now. They feel like the team of destiny, and we've seen it time and time again in previous Super Bowls where it's just there's something special about some of these teams that go into these amazing runs.
Yeah,
that listen, they beat the Chiefs, they beat the Chargers this year, they beat the Raiders.
It's a borderline Cinderella story.
Round.
I mean, they won their division,
exactly.
But it's a borderline Cinderella story. You know what I mean? Like they especially 2 years in this system. I mean, Joe Burrow getting injured last year. Zach Taylor's good offense. Anyway, good. I'm happy. I'm going Bengals too this weekend. I really hope that they win. Who's a Bengals fan? Shtib from the Shtib and Zhang show on Hot Sauce Sports. So Shtib is a diehard Bengals fan. He wears his LSU Jamar Chase jersey every episode. Weird. So thank you for watching. If you watch live, my name is Terry Tam. That was Duke. This episode is, as always, brought to you by. I don't know why my banners aren't there anymore. There it is. Brought to you by Hot Streak Fantasy. Visit Hot Streak Fantasy on iOS only. Android can suck it. Hot Streak Fantasy. Use the promo code Hot Sauce. They will match your initial deposit as a bonus. It's the best in-play fantasy app on the market. A few months ago, we had Jenny Cetino on, who's involved in this, and he explained the whole thing. He's unbelievable. This app it's gonna change the way we do in-play and daily fantasy by far, and it's already doing that. You can bet on basketball, football, and baseball right now. They're going to move into hockey and other sports as well, but for now, that's what they're using. Deposit 50 is from $10 to $1,000. They'll match your initial deposit as a bonus. So if you put $1,000, they'll give it to you. That's Hot Streak Fantasy on iOS. Use the promo code Hot Sauce. Don't forget, they'll match your bonus if you use the promo code Hot Sauce. And that's it, man. Thanks for coming on, Duke. I appreciate it. We'll see you next week. Maybe we'll be back on Twitter poll to see what we can name the show. But I'm thinking Weekly Sauce. Fuck it. You know what I mean? It is a good name. So we'll just take it.
We'll see you guys. We'll see everybody back next Monday.
Yeah, cool. Have a good one, boys. Ciao.
Take care, man.